We'll check back with you shortly. Right now we are north, where the Canadian political landscape is shaking, to say the least. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford acknowledging that he smoked crack cocaine about a year ago, probably, as he put it, in one of his drunken stupors. That's a quote. That's right. He said, "I smoked crack but was too drunk to remember." The allegations have been dogging him now for months. Last week, Toronto's police chief said investigators have video that allegedly shows Ford smoking a crack pipe. Up until now, he denied using crack. Today, he promised it won't happen again.
I embarrassed everyone in this city, and I will be forever sorry. There is only one person to blame for this, and that is myself. I know that thing was the right thing to do, and I feel like 1,000 pounds have been lifted off my shoulders. I know what I did was wrong, and admitting it was the most difficult and embarrassing thing I have ever had to do. To the residents of Toronto, I know I have let you down, and I can't do anything else but apologize. There is important work that we must advance and important decisions that must be made. For the sake of the taxpayers of this great city, for the sake of the taxpayers, we must get back to work immediately.
For the sake of the taxpayers, Ford not only ignored calls to step aside, he said he plans to run for re-election next year. Paul Newton's in Toronto tonight. I just want to play, Paula, some of the repeated denials that we have heard from this man over the course of the last 6 months. Let's listen.
These allegations are ridiculous. Absolutely. I'm not sure. It's ridiculous.
Are the allegations true?
It's ridiculous, guys. I do not use crack cocaine, nor am I an addict of crack cocaine. Number one, there's no video, so that's all I can say.
Have you done any illegal drugs since you've been mayor?
Anything else? I have no reason to resign. I'm going to go back. I'm going to return my phone calls. I'm going to be out doing what the people elected me to do.
What was the reaction today when he finally admitted that he did do it, but it was probably in one of his drunken binges?
You know, shock, utter shock. But on the other hand, Anderson, everyone is completely riveted. I mean, we just heard all those emphatic denials, but now I want you to hear how Mayor Ford started today.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
When,
But
sir?
no, do I? Am I an addict? No.
When have you?
Have I tried it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors, probably approximately about a year ago. I answered your question.
So he's saying that in one of those drunken stupors, he may have smoked crack cocaine, and it may be on video. He's telling people, look, I'm coming clean on this right now. And more to that, he's saying he wants to see the video because he wants to see how bad it actually was, and he wants the whole city to see it too. Anderson?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, despite all of this, there's not much anyone can do to actually remove him from office, right?
No, not at all, Anderson. There's no impeachment procedure at City Hall behind me, and councillors are utterly frustrated. So many of them, even his supporters, saying, look, it's time for him to step aside, at least for a little bit of time, and really take a time out and deal with his personal issues that he's now admitted to. Having said that, Anderson, he says he's going to run next year, run again for mayor, and I would not count him out. Despite all of this, his popularity has been, fairly strong, and more than that, his poll numbers surprisingly resilient.
And have the police commented on their investigation of the mayor?
Well, they've commented to say, look, we have this video, but so far there are no charges pending against the mayor. When they heard everything that came out today, they said, we'll take this information, and that's about all they would say about it. But Anderson, think about this. This mayor runs the police department. Technically, he is in charge of the same police department that has had him under secret surveillance for months. Believe me, this story isn't going anywhere. Everyone wants to see that video. It might come out in the coming months in a trial in connection with drug charges, of the mayor's former driver and friend. But in the meantime, the mayor saying, look, the video exists. I did it. I'm sorry. Let's move on.
Well, the idea that he's saying this is all about the taxpayers and that's why he wants to stay in, I mean, you know, we'll see if the taxpayers buy that argument. Paula Newton, appreciate the reporting. Thanks. I want to turn next to Dr. Drew Pinsky, addiction medicine specialist and host of Dr. Drew on Call on HLN. So, Dr. Drew, after admitting to smoking crack, Toronto's mayor said he'd probably tried it in, quote, one of my drunken stupors. As someone who works with people with addiction problems, what does that tell you about him, that he's talking about his drunken stupors, plural?
Yeah, to be clear, I don't know him, and so I'm assessing what I see in the press just like everybody else, but fairly clearly he meets criteria for alcoholism. Really, people have great misconceptions about what alcoholism is. You don't have to be drinking every day to be an alcoholic. You don't have to have liver disease. You just have to have a biological heritage and ongoing use in the face of consequence, work, relationships, health, and look, his work consequences have been profound. And then finally, denial is a defining feature of this condition as well. And certainly he is manifesting classic denial.
I mean, he emphasized he wasn't an addict, but I mean, addiction takes many forms. You can be addicted to alcohol. It's sort of like he's just saying, oh, a drunken stupor. If you're an adult that, you know, in a responsible position, having multiple drunken stupors just doesn't seem like a responsible thing.
Blackout drunk. No, well, it's not about responsible. It's a sign of illness. It's a sign of a condition. If you have blackout drunks repeatedly, you're at least a binge alcoholic. And you're right, Anderson. I don't make a distinction between addiction and alcoholism. They're fundamentally the disorder, the same part of the brain, the motivational systems. And as such, he needs to take time, get it. I actually feel very, very sympathetic towards this guy. He needs to step down, take care of his medical problems, just like if he had any other serious medical condition, get treatment, and then return to work. But to go on the way he is, insist on continuing to work, and he's come out publicly and said, now, I'm going to cut down on my alcohol consumption. That's not going to work. You're going to see more press conferences ahead.
Right. I mean, to say, oh, I'm just going to cut down, you can't just, it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way. That's exactly right. The other thing he's doing, in addition to denial, he is obfuscating, which is a classic alcoholic move, which is to say, I didn't lie to you guys. You guys just didn't ask me the right questions. That's why you didn't get the information you wanted. And then when addicts and alcoholics say that to me, I literally laugh out loud. I mean, I think they're very comical when they obfuscate and try to distort and blow smoke so they continue using. But it's a classic reason, a classic sort of manifestation of this motivational disturbance where the brain believes it must continue its relationship with alcohol at any cost. No matter how much humiliation, no matter how much work consequence, no matter the political consequence, he's going to keep that relationship going.
Do people often in this position, do they just not see the reality of their circumstances? I mean, you take one look at this guy, you listen to him over the last couple of months as he's been, lying and ducking and diving on this stuff, and he just seems out of control.
Right, Anderson, and that's what denial is. Denial takes many forms, but part of it is not really seeing reality on reality's terms, or not seeing things the way other people see it, and that seems to be what's going on here. The other question that people ask themselves is, can you be that big? Can you be obese and be a crack addict? And absolutely, I've seen obese crack addicts. The other question people keep asking me is, can you use crack on an occasional basis? And not as a primary drug, but as part of what alcoholics throw into their mix. They'll throw in benzodiazepines and opioids and crack cocaine sometimes, and in fact, it doesn't become an issue. The alcohol remains primary. It can become an issue, but it doesn't have to, as opposed to the individuals that are just picking up the crack pipe.
It's just an unbelievable story. No doubt not the last we've heard about it. Yeah, Dr. Drew, thanks.
You bet.
Up next.